Hey guys, welcome back to Modern on a Budget. I hope you are ready to have a song stuck in your head for the rest of the day. So this deck is Soul Sisters, and every time I talk to someone about this, obviously they think of the song by Train, but this deck is a life gain deck, and is a very strong deck that can just come out of nowhere, and unless your opponent is playing Chalice of the Void or tons and tons and tons of removal, you are going to get some crazy games with how far you can go. Now I'm gonna divide this video into saying what you're trying to do, what's really gonna put you there, what's gonna make you reach that goal, and then the support behind it. Now this deck is going to have a few other side combos that you might want to look at. But the goal of the deck is to gain an absurd amount of life and just survive long enough for your small dudes to slowly beat down your opponent, for you to either deal damage with those tokens in the air or go infinite. And I'll explain how you can do those things in a moment. The way we're going to get to that absurd life total, though, is through 3 cards that do the same thing, and they're all 1/1s for 1, so I'm not going to hover like all of them constantly. These are going to be your Soul Sisters. The reason why they're called Soul Sisters is because they have soul in their name, and they could be sisters. These two have the same art. It's actually kind of weird. Anyway, but this says whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. Now, this card right here includes your opponent's battlefield. It's kind of like Blood Artist, but for gaining life. Well, I guess Blood Artist already gains you life, but okay, for entering the battlefield. But you have 12 of these Soul Sisters, so you're going to be gaining a ton of life in your deck. And of course, if you're going to be gaining a ton of life, what do you want to run? The Bane of Magic Arena in over the summer was a Johnny's Pridemate. 2/2 for 2 mana. Whenever you gain life, put a 1 counter on it. Absurd. Turn 1 turn 1 Soul Warden, turn 2 a Johnny's Pridemate. It's a 3/3. And then you pass the turn and possibly gets even bigger if your opponent plays creatures. The nice thing about this is that if you play it, it's not able to be killed by anything like Lava Dart, Gut Shot. It is able to be bolted, but not by those other cards. And then you have, I'm gonna say this actually. Venerated locks it on with Convoke, 5 mana. When it enters the battlefield, put a 1 counter on each creature that convoked it. You can cast this for free. We have 18 lands and a 5-drop in our deck. Obviously, we're not casting it for 5 mana. But this is to make all of your Soul Sisters a little stronger. Make sure they can't get Gut Shot or Lava Darted. But it's also a way to kind of add a bit of power to the board. Now, this next part of the video, I'm going to explain some of the... Well, first off, we have Path to Exile removal, Raise the Alarm for more enter the battlefield abilities, also just tokens. The next, half of this video is going to be talking about combos, though, because this deck, though it looks very simple, just looking at it now, I'm going to explain some combos you can do. So, Smuggler's Copter is a 3/3 for 2 mana with Crew 1, and says whenever it attacks or blocks, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. It's a flyer. So this, if you play it, can be crewed by one of your Soul Sisters, so that it can still kind of attack, but without actually risking dying. So you tap it, crew Smuggler's Copter, and swing in for 3 in the air. That's going to be probably how you win a lot of the time. But there are different ways, different combos and synergies that work with this. For example, Amara. Whenever Amara, Soul of the Accord, becomes tapped, create a 1/1 soldier token creature with lifelink. So not only does it have lifelink, but it'll trigger your Soul Wardens. But this means that you can tap Amara to crew Smuggler's Copter, creating that token, and then swinging with Copter. So that right there is very powerful. Another thing you can do with Smuggler's Copter is Midnight Guard. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, untap Midnight Guard. So if you have Midnight Guard, Smuggler's Copter, and a creature in your hand, you can have Midnight Guard crew Smuggler's Copter, and then you play a creature, untapping Midnight Guard, and you essentially got a free crew. And if you have multiple creatures in your hand, or even just that one, you could even possibly crew multiple Smuggler Copters in one turn. Another thing to keep in mind is if, coming back to venerated Loxodon, if you were to use Loxodon, if you were to use Midnight Guard to convoke Loxodon, it taps it, Loxodon enters, untapping Midnight Guard, so you get a free convoke, and then you put a 1 counter on your Midnight Guard so it can no longer be bolted. Which is very important, because I'm actually going to hop over to the infinite combo of the deck. So if your creature cannot be lightning bolt, if your creature can't be bolted, then it's going to be a lot safer for you. Because what's going to happen is you have this that says, whenever another creature enters the battlefield, untap Midnight Guard. But you also have Princeton's of Gond. Enchanted creature has tap, create a 1/1 green elf warrior token. Now, some people might not see this right away, but if you do, congrats. This is an infinite combo because you will tap Midnight Guard to create the 1/1 elf. The 1/1 elf will enter, untapping Midnight Guard, and you can tap it again to create the elf. The elf enters, untap Midnight Guard, and it's infinite. And if you have one of your 12 Soul Wardens on the battlefield, you also gain infinite life. You can hope that your opponent doesn't have a board wipe, but if they do, you have a lot of life. That's about it. But Smuggler's Copter gets around board wipes a lot of the time. So usually if you're just top decking, you can leave your Smuggler Copters there and you can just crew them when they enter, because the creature can enter that turn if you're crewing. It just can't, because the activated ability is on Smuggler's Copter, which is already on the battlefield. Anyway, that's that combo. And the thing about this infinite combo is that it works so well with the rest of the deck. I already explained the free convoke, the free crew, and the Presence of Gone can be tossed onto one of your tokens, onto one of your Soul Sisters. Maybe not your Soul Sister, that would make it too much of a threat, too much of a target. But you could also toss it on your Amara, just to give it that free way to tap, so that you can tap it to create 2 tokens. And keep in mind, whenever we make those tokens, you're probably going to be gaining a bunch of life. Raise the Alarm, I already talked about this. It's a way to put those creatures onto the battlefield, gain a ton of life, chump blockers, whatever. But also, a lot of modern decks aren't ready for this. It's just like, it sounds weird to say, and it's probably weird to hear, but a 2 mana create 2 bodies, people don't expect that. Now, it might not be that hard of a hurdle for a lot of decks to cross, but it definitely catches them off guard. Anyway, that, and then the lands. It's very similar to the Boggles deck because it's Selesnya as well. Branched off pathway, you need to hit your Essence Warden, your Presence of Gond, or your Amara. But other than that, you just need white mana. So like once you get that single green land, you basically just flip it over and just make it white. So this is a very good way of not losing any life while also getting your color fixing. I love the pathways way too much, by the way. Sunpel Grove in here just as a way to add another dual land in here, and that can enter untapped. our sideboard, because that's it for the main board. We have no special companion or anything. But our sideboard, Path to Exile, if we're going against more decks that need removal. Pithing Needle, it's surprising how many decks in the metagame use activated abilities. So Pithing Needle is really good. Relic of Progenitus for graveyard decks also draws you a card. Damping Sphere against Storm, possibly Burn. I wouldn't bring it in against Burn because you already have such a powerful game and you don't want to dilute your non-lands. I'm against Burn. I might be taking out the presence of Gons because the likelihood that you'll pull it off when they have a bolt is very low. So maybe take out 4 Gons, bring in 2 Spheres, bring in 1 Path, and then I don't know, some third option. You could keep in the presence of Gond as a 1-of, I guess. But the rest is or you could even just bring in relics just for that card draw. Because card draw is better than just presence gone that's going to sit in your hand. Damping Sphere for it is for Storm. It is sometimes for Burn. It's for Tron. Tron will still make it past this. Don't think that it stops it completely, but it does delay them. Gaia's Blessing for Mill, and 4 Wilts. Again, a 4 of Wilt in the sideboard. We are very weak to we're not as weak as Boggles to Chalice of the Void, but we're really weak when we can't cast our Soul Wardens. Our Soul Wardens are just our Soul Sisters in general. Anyway, that's the reason it's in there. But overall, this deck is a very fast, very fun deck to play, and it's really obnoxious how much life you can gain. Anyway, if you like the deck, let me know below. If you have any ideas for it, please let me know. This is a very budget deck, especially I base it off of paper prices. But if we're going to talk about online, this costs you $10. $10 for online Magic for just a dumb deck. Just pick this up one night and just have a fun night and let me know what you think below. I will see you next time.